Good morning everyone, it is Saturday, July 9th, the day of the Pig and Porter. But that's not what we're going to today. We are, in the end, going to Service Slam 2016, the Spring Kit tournament in Limerick. Looking forward to it. There seems to be a good crowd going to it, and certainly a strong field. So I'm excited. Think I'm happy with the decks I'm bringing. I go through, these waves and troughs of confidence and crises of confidence. When things are going well, everything is swimming. When I lose a couple of games, down in the dumps. Did get a game in this morning against Glimsha in the competitive lobby. He was playing the weird Haley thing. I was playing my slightly weird, or cute as he called it, near a hub. Not sure whether I should be offended or complimented by that, but did manage to pull out a win in the end.
I'm the king of the world!
So hopefully that bodes well now for the rest of the day. So we're just finished, but no time to catch up because now it's time to go see John Romero give a talk about Doom. Kind of doing a post-mortem 23 years later, so that should be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to it, and I'll catch you up soon. So we are just done. Very good day out. Really enjoyed the day. So warm though. I am sweltering. The room was about 1 billion degrees, and that was with only 10 of us in it for a good while. But so hot. Very tough, very competitive field. I finished 4th in the end, which I'm quite happy with. I finished with a record of 5-3, and the winners were 6-2. So I mean, not a million miles away, but to quote Vin Diesel, it doesn't matter if you win it by an inch or a mile, winning's winning. And the same for losing, unfortunately. There's not that much to separate the field sometimes, and one game makes all the difference. I am really warm, quite dehydrated, very hungry right now, so going to wait and do a recap in a moment after I've had possibly a shower, lots of water and a big meal. But yeah, 1 second for ye, a lifetime for me it could be. Alright, well I'm feeling much better about life anyway. Got some food into me, feeling much better once again. Yeah, so it was a great day out, really enjoyed it. Got 10 people there, which I think the guys were really pleased with. But what was surprising was how good the field was. There's a lot of people there that you wouldn't be surprised to see them in top 8 at the top tables, that kind of thing. So yeah, very competitive, tough field all the way through. There were no easy games. As I said, I went 5-3. Pretty happy with that. There was one game that was a disaster, but let's get on to that. So first game was up against Owen. I've mentioned his name many a time before, up from Cork. Always a strong competitor. And we always have really good games, I always really enjoy him. He was breaking out a weird kind of sync deck and Jasminder. Although I didn't see too many of the things that Jasminder is known for. Maybe it was to counter the Tag Storm decks that are going around at the moment, the likes of Sync, get rid of Gutenberg's Data Ravens, make them a lot less dangerous. And on the runner side, things were going quite well. I managed to snag all 3 breaking news and got a global food as well, but unfortunately I did manage to pick up tags. Got mid-seasoned at one point, and from there he was just looking to draw into an agenda, psychographics out. Don't know how much I should say. I don't think he's going to play it for real. He's been playing it on Jiteki. So the first couple of turns he motioned out a card, which I didn't know what to expect out of Sync. Ghost Branch was the fear. Turned out to be a Vanity Project, which I know he's a big fan of, and that was 4 points on the board straight away. And that's the kind of deck it's all about, getting those big agendas down, and if you fail to score them or the runner scores them for you, get them tagged and swap it with the exchange of information. So I knew that tags were coming, or quite likely, and unfortunately got hit, got buried, and couldn't close out the game before he found the pieces he needed. I think I was unlucky with some of my grabs, some of my picks, but happy enough with how it all went. Probably should have put down a film critic earlier, or found it. I'm not sure if I drew it or not. On the Corp side, I played near a hub with Political Dealings. Very quick deck, and it was just a touch too quick for him. He did manage to score global food, but Exchange of Information is a great card, so I did manage to use that. Political Dealings, I think, worked on occasion, or there were times where I had it rezzed, and I would draw, but it would just be this awkward moment where I was full sure the clot could come out. But in the end, Cyberdex was able to rid that threat, so it worked out very well. Second game was up against Damien. Again, I've mentioned in the past, he did make top 8 at the last regionals, and once again, always good games. He was playing Polana, and he was also playing Leela. And Polana, Wizard, managed to put on so much pressure. Worked really, really well. The deck just clicked, I think. Managed to find the breakers I needed quite well. He got a Nisei token scored early enough, but I kept putting on the R&D pressure, kept hitting the hand as well. Got very lucky at one point, got the one agenda out of a hand. It was like 3 snares and a piece of ice. So, breathe a sigh of relief. But again, Begat, great inclusion. Definitely forcing me to run HQ more often. And yeah, really liking it. On the Corp side, bit of a disaster, honestly. I tried to go for an early score at one point. Had 2 pieces of ice and an Astro. Was leaving R&D a little open. Had a wraparound, but he had a way of dealing with it. And there was one turn where he managed to get just agenda and another agenda. He dismantled the scoring server. He didn't even pop back the Astro to hand. And third click, he's like, oh, I'll run and check what that is. So he scored 3 agendas in one turn. And from there, there was no real comeback, which was very, very unfortunate. Game 3 then was up against Tony, who put together the event. Did a great job, organised it really well, everything ran really smoothly. And always good games once again. As cliched as that sounds. He was breaking out the core set Wayland, which was intriguing to see. It's been a while. But it's gotten some good transaction cards the last little while as well. But Wizard just absolutely stood on top of things. Again, breakers came out perfectly. Money was good, and I was able to just keep pressurizing again. Begat, such a good card. And yeah, just caused all sorts of issues across the board. Near the hub then was, again, very, very quick. He was playing Wizard, which was a matchup I was a bit nervous about, because they have the recurring credits to go and trash all your things. But the way I figured it as well was it was costing them time, if nothing else, and that ended up annoying them. He wasn't able to get enough money to really be able to execute his game plan enough, and things came out in the right order for me. Was able to draw agendas at the right time and capitalise on windows. So I was really happy with how that game went. And then I was into my last game up against Dave Russell, a fellow Limerick player. He's been out of the game for a little while, and he was breaking out some weird stuff. So he brought Nasir, who I like, but haven't played in quite a while after some Heartbreak, and the Foundry, which I also like, but haven't gotten to work for me. And the game against the Foundry went incredibly quickly. I played really badly. I ran a remote a couple of turns in, and didn't have the breakers needed. He rezzed a Merlin, was able to search for a Merlin, and that killed me. I was worried about Snare in the remote. I should have worried about what was, in store on the way to the remote. So, unfortunate. And then Nearth Hub, it's not Nasir's best in the matchup, and sure enough, it absolutely wrecked face. Resistors and pop-ups everywhere, and that kind of sealed the deal, really. So 5-3 in the end, and a record I'm happy with. As I said, the guys on top, I think it was they all finished 6-2 with just strength schedule separating them. So very competitive field, as I say. And yeah, it should be interesting in a couple of weeks when we go to Kilkenny. That is going to be a pretty stacked field again. It's going to be a lot of buys being used, so making the cut could be challenging. There is one last store championship before that. Well, there's 2. There's one up north, which I can't make, and there's one in Kilkenny, so maybe I'll try one last shot. We shall see. So the ranking from Service Slam was put up. You can see here, Owen winning it outright, and Oren unlucky. Just strength schedule separating them, and even at that, not that much. It turns out I tied for 3rd. Strength schedule, of course, bumped me down a place, but pretty happy with that overall. I feel for Oren though. I mean, nothing against Owen, deserved champion, always a good player, but Oren was so close to knocking him off that perch, and you'd like to see the underdog do well. And it's a shame that his strength schedule separated it as well, because, I mean, there's nothing that Oren could have done about, who he played, that kind of thing as well. And he did sweep Sean Lucy, great player, so that in itself is quite an accomplishment. Maybe we should have had them fight to the death and see who comes out on top. That's very Limerick City, isn't it? But I've had a couple of days to reflect on the whole tournament. Still really enjoy the experience, obviously, but I can, look at it positively. I mean, I went 1-1 with Owen, and that is a great sign, hopefully of more things to come. Because just got to get that consistency in the in-between games as well. Silly mistakes occasionally cost me, but overall happy with how I played. There was definitely some very good plays as well. There's things that I've definitely learned and evolved my play over time, so happy with that. The time that Damien ran HQ, I had Jackson on the table and I used him, political operative was coming. Here's hoping we can keep it going. Oh baby, the new Most Wanted list and FAQ came out today. FAQ kicks in immediately, which has some interesting repercussions. Most Wanted list doesn't kick in until the 1st of August. So we're in an interesting little period here. This is probably bigger than the original Most Wanted list because Astro is suddenly 1 per deck, which means the Astro train is well and truly off the rails. You can only have 1 AstroScript pilot program in your deck. That is it. On the bright side, NBN has 3 extra influence to spend because it's no longer on the Most Wanted list. So that's something. Another big news, breaking news, is on Most Wanted list, so that will probably replace Astro. It means those decks that were relying on like exchange of information, some of them weren't using Astro anyway, so chances are they'll just use the influence of spent on that for breaking news instead. Some big changes. There's a lot to talk about here and probably not enough time to do it in, but let's try and see what we can do. So there are big changes. Runner side, Faust, David and Wild side are on the Most Wanted list, so yeah, it's going to be a lot of influence spent on getting that whole engine up and running. Now, it isn't the worst thing in the world that's happened. I don't know if it was broken or not. It was definitely very prevalent. Maybe 1 or 2 pieces could have been on it, leave 1 out, I'm not sure. That is for other people to debate. Let me know in the comment section below. But if something was being done to that side of things, NBN has to be affected, because NBN first turn can be ice, put an agenda down, you score out your Astro behind like a resistor and a quandary. So if Faust was going to be hit hard, and it has been, then NBN needs to be hit as well, because otherwise you're getting your Astro train going nice and early and there's very little that could be done about it. So we might see the end of Anarch, we might see the end of NBN. Things are going to be very interesting, very different for a little while. We thought this after the last Most Wanted list, and then things kind of settled down again. There was an agreed suite of ice for HB, Jinteki did its thing, NBN still sacrificed influence for agendas. But it will be interesting to see how things shake up, and in the weeks until we find something new to complain about, basically. On the corp side, Mumba Temple has been hit by the Most Wanted list, and Museum of History is going to be on the unique list as well. So it's not like Astro, you can have 3 of them in the deck, but you can only have 1 res at a time, which is good. That's needed to keep things somewhat under control. Interestingly as well, none of the cards that were on the Most Wanted list, Astro side, have been removed. So you're not going to see the return to prior archetypes. Things are going to change. So maybe it's heavy-handed, but there's definitely a lot of sweeping changes coming in. One thing I will say is if NBN drops off top 8s completely, then Fantasy Flight have done a bad job of it, it has to be said, because you can't go from being, we'll say, arguably the best deck to not even featuring or not being played, and you can't say that that's done a great job for balancing. But all of this is very, very uncertain. It's all going to pan out in time. I'm going to have to read over the Most Wanted list and the FAQ a few times just to see how everything pans out, and then I got to start looking at my own decks as well. Obviously I've been running NBN for a little while and using Astros, of course, but can't do that anymore. Effective immediately. 1 Astro per deck is really going to shake things up. Definitely have to relook at things, maybe go back to Glacier style. Ooh, future is uncertain. On the flip side, I was playing the New Look Wizard, which it uses David, so I'll have to relook at that. But Faust didn't use, and Wildside didn't use either, so that's kind of safe. If David is on it, we kind of need better breakers for bigger things. Expect to see a lot of Blue Sun maybe, because Curtain Wall is gonna survive. People were only putting 1 or 2 Davids in a deck anyway, and you could see that being dropped, so I'm curious to see what's going to happen. There was a lot of Wayland decks being played in Jinteki earlier. I'm wondering, did people get prior notice that things were happening? A lot of Blue Suns coming out. Curtain Wall Oversight is going to be quite powerful all over again. Basically, there's more questions than answers at the moment, and yeah, just curious, like all of you, to see how things pan out. One thing I will say is the memes are, automatic gold, so that's something. Big changes afoot, and I guess I better start looking at decks and seeing what I can do about it, because at the moment everything is very illegal. So we have another new pack announcement. If you're wondering why FFG often doesn't have news, it's because it releases everything at once. So on the same day that it released the FAQ and updated Most Wanted list, it also had news of the third data pack in the next cycle, which is Escalation. Some really interesting cards in there. I really like the Anarch runner. Maybe it's just because I like Anarch, but really interesting ability where he can run on archives and you treat it as a run on either R&D or HQ. So really going to be stepping up that central pressure, which is a lot of fun. There's of course Boom as well, the death of Wizard officially. As if the Most Wanted list didn't kill him off enough, now he gets absolutely murdered. So that should be a lot of fun. There's smarter people than me who've been talking through it, like Kiv talked about the whole kind of power shutdown, accelerated diagnostics with it, and you can do so much damage in very few clicks. New kind of death by 1,000 cuts Jinteki, which actually looks more dangerous than personal evolution, I think. And we have DNA tracker, which looks just brutal, especially with possibly fewer Davids running around as well. Scary times. So that was kind of a whirlwind tour through 23 seconds and the Most Wanted list and the FAQ for a variety of reasons. Chief among them, I don't think I'm the authority on cards and deck lists and what's going to change in the meta yet. Someday, but not quite yet. So instead I'll leave it to people smarter and more clued in than me. And also I feel that these kind of things deserve their own video. They need time and attention and kind of a thorough go through. Also, I think 23 seconds, a lot of it will be based on where the meta is in a couple of months. As it is, we're kind of very uncertain as to where things are going to be in a week's time, which is really inconvenient because this weekend there's the Game Night kit in Kilkenny, kind of the last chance saloon for a regional buy, which is the following week. So we're very busy. I have to still work out what corp I'm going to play this weekend, how it's going to look. But hopefully I can find something that is interesting and can win. It's a weird position to be in though, because NBN has been hit hard, so the Astra thing alone is a hard hit. But Anarch is still good for another couple of weeks, which means you have to play a slow deck, which feeds into the Dumble Fork style of thing, or you're playing Jeeves, which feeds into Wizard. So yeah, it could be too early to switch to a slower deck, but Fast Advance is much harder now as well, so interesting times ahead. On another note, I have noticed that YouTube is trying to make changes again, so if you want to see videos from me, and you've made it this far, so hopefully you'll see this, you need to look for notifications, I think. So I'll put up a picture here. You need to click the settings kind of wheel and ask for notifications for uploads from this channel, or if you're on mobile there's a little alarm symbol next to the subscribed button. If you could click that, it'd be great, and it means that you'll get to see content from me as soon as it goes up. So yay, that's something to look forward to on a daily basis. And because of all the news and things that have been going on, I think I've taken up a lot of your time, and thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please debate everything in the comment section below. There's a lot to talk about this week. But yes, thank you for watching, and we'll be back soon with another video.